Good morning. Thank you. So how many of you are postgraduates here? My God, most of you. Okay, let me start by saying that I'm just a graduate. I just did my commerce from Sydenham College in Bombay and joined a traditionally family-managed company, wherein my father and my uncles were managing the company. There were no professionals. And I wanted to study further. I couldn't get admission into any MBA school. I wanted to go abroad. My father declined, saying that you're not going abroad. And like an obedient son, I joined the family business. And there was nobody to guide me or mentor me, And my father said that now you visit the factories, visit customers, and find out for yourself what you want to do. And if I look back at my own history, I find that, I've just been many times left loose and, left it to me to determine what I want to do. I think what I want to say is that every person has that inner desire to succeed, to build something, to create a legacy. I think that's where I started. That desire to prove that I can do something was very, very high for me. And in my exploration of different businesses, we had an edible oil business, we had a chemicals business, we had a spice extracts business. But there were no professionals. Our office was located in the heart of commodity markets in Masjid Bandar. I don't know how many of you have been there, but if you've not been there, worth going there just to see how chaotic that place is. It's the most chaotic place in the world, in my opinion. Full of hand carts, lorries, transport godowns, very dirty. And in that middle of that locality, we have our office. No professionals. And in my exploration for a year or so, I realized that if the edible oil business, which was unbranded, if I can convert that business from unbranded to branded, the business will become far more profitable, it will become far more sustainable. And I just had that idea because we were supplying our coconut oil to some of the packers who were used to pack it in small packs in their own brands. So the family used to say, see how this company has created a brand. And I think that somewhere resonated in me. And I said that let me try and do this. So that's how my entry into the FMCG segment began. And I started touring in interior markets. Started in Maharashtra, Vidarbha, doing basic work in terms of appointing distributors, retailing the products to the trade. I think that gave me a great grounding in terms of how distribution happens. I used to appoint distributors many times in small towns. There were no hotels, so I've stayed with distributors at their houses, So that bottom-up grounding really helped me in terms of understanding how business is created, FMCG business, how critical is distribution for success. And as we expanded distribution over a period of time, we started recruiting talent. Through distribution expansion, we got a market share of about 15% in this segment. And at some stage, the market share started stagnating. And we said that, what do we do? Because we want to become the market leader. And that's how we said that, can we innovate in that segment? The whole market for coconut oil was in tins. And we said that, can we convert that market from tin to plastics? Plastics is cheaper than tins. It's relatively more attractive. It's more convenient to use. But there were a lot of bottlenecks out there, a lot of resistance to introduction of plastics, mainly through the trade. I, for one, am a very strong believer in consumer inciting, not only the end customer, but the intermediaries also. So when we went to the end customer, they were all very happy that, yes, they would want to buy coconut oil in plastics. But the trade had huge negative because of the fact that about 10 years prior to us, somebody else had launched coconut oil in plastics. And that had bombed because it was a square-shaped bottle. A lot of oil on the outer surface of the bottle. When the retailer closed the shop and opened next morning, all the rats had bitten away the oil and the bottles. And not only the product was damaged, but the shop also was damaged. So there was huge resistance. But as entrepreneurs, and I'm sure all of you will agree with me that you never give up. There are multiple examples where there have been some roadblocks, but you find some alternative ways to overcome those roadblocks. So we went back to the packaging vendor and said, can you design a bottle which is a round shape where rat will find it difficult to get a grip? Went to the manufacturing just to ensure that there is not a single drop of oil on the outer surface of the bottle. And we did all that and kept it in a rat cage for a day. Nothing happened. I think that gave us a lot of confidence. And we took pictures and we gave it to our field force. And then multiple innovations through packaging route. I don't have the time to go through all that. But what I'm trying to say is that a simple innovation from tin to plastics, relatively simple to think, but difficult to execute because of all the resistance. And to me, innovation is just not ideation or arriving at a concept, but execution also. And I would spend a lot of time every month trying to ensure that the overall percentage of plastic sales increased. It took 5 years for us to convert that whole market from tin to plastics. And in that process, we became the market leader. So in a very large category, oiling is a category which is bigger than shampoo in India. And we became a clear market leader with a 50% market share in that category. Mainly through these innovations and persistence in terms of executing that innovation. A few years later, we saw an opportunity in Bangladesh, and again, market dominated by local brands. We said that whatever innovations we have done here, can we convert that in Bangladesh? The whole market was tins. And again, we converted the market within 3 years. And today we have an 80% market share in that market. We are the largest Indian company in Bangladesh, very profitable, only listed company, Indian company. So I think my belief in innovation went on getting reinforced. And whenever we have innovated, we have seen if that innovation has succeeded, we've seen discontinuous impact on our business. So I was very keen that we need to build an organization which is very, very innovative on a perpetual basis, because if you innovate once, others will copy, and you have to be 2 steps ahead of others. So that can only happen if you build a very strong culture of innovation where every person within the organization thinks of innovation. Innovation just doesn't happen in R&D labs. It occurs in individuals' minds, consumer interactions, check with consumer, interact with other colleagues. And that's how initial idea gets built into a prototype, gets tested, again improvised, and then scaled up if it is successful. And in that journey, I've had multiple failures. I think the biggest hindrance to innovation is the fear of failure. If you have that fear of failure, you will stop taking risks, you will stop experimenting. And there is no shortcut to testing out a concept in the marketplace. No amount of market research will give you all the ideas. Of course, market research is important, but I think beyond that, you have to test out that hypothesis with the consumer in the marketplace. And it's just not the product, it's the product, the packaging, the brand name, the pricing, and so on. So I am a very firm believer in converting those initial ideas to prototypes, experiment. If you want to reduce the risk, financial risk, then you can prototype on a small scale. And don't be afraid of failures. It's okay to fail, because every failure has a learning. And just to give an example, we launched Saffola Baked Snacks many years back, about 15 years back maybe, in Bombay. We thought we had a winner on hands, because we were the first ones to launch baked snacks at that time. We went a little overboard on the brand. We thought that the brand has to offer health benefits. So we prioritized health over taste in a category where there is a lot of impulsive purchasing. The product didn't do well because consumers didn't find it tasty, though it was very healthy. And we realized that in food it's very important, the taste is very important. So a few years later, when we saw an opportunity in the oats segment, we launched plain oats. And we had about 15% market share in that category through just plain oats and competing with Quaker and Kellogg's and so on. And we said that we have to innovate. We can't just stagnate at 15%. So through consumer insighting, we identified that Indians like savory breakfast and not sweet breakfast. And we went, that failure of snacks was behind us and saying that we have to go overboard on taste. So we wanted to launch a brand of savory oats, like what Maggi had done for noodles. Can we launch a range of masala oats? And we went overboard in trying to find out taste preferences of each and every state in India, because each state has a different taste preference. And we designed products depending on the state to suit that taste preference. After the product was developed, we launched it in South, and then we have different variants for different parts of the country, but taste was given very high priority. And we have been able to create a market for savory oats from, there was no market when we launched. So today I think it's about a 300 crore market, which we have 80% market share in that. And I think that also has helped us in terms of getting market share in the plain oats. Our market share was stagnating at 15%, but those who had tried the savory oats felt that the product was good. So sometimes you buy savory, sometimes you buy plain oats. So they also started buying Saffola plain oats, and our market share in the combined category is, I think, close to being a market leader. So in my own journey, though I have not studied, but I strongly believe in learning. So when it came to appointing an ad agency in the earlier days, the first thing I told the ad agency was, I want to spend 1 week with you in terms of understanding how advertising is created. And I think that played again a very important role in understanding how an advertising agency works. I had multiple interactions while working in the factory or working in the field to interact with people down the line, a distributor's rep, our own sales rep. And every time I come back with some new learning, and I think that just reinforced in me the belief that I can learn from anybody. And I don't have to have that high-handed thing that I am qualified, I am the owner. You have to show humility, you have to go on showing curiosity in terms of finding out what are the new trends, what are new things, what can I do differently. And that continuous questioning, if you go on asking that question, and if you are showing good interest in listening to the answers, you will learn some phenomenal learnings you will get in your own journey, and that learning should never stop. It has to be there all your life, because the moment it stops, I think it will have an impact on your overall journey, on your business. So I, for one, believe that the lack of education has not really impacted me. I tried to make it up through a lot of short-term courses. I was very clear that in FMCG business, talent plays a very important role. And we had to attract the best of talent, because you compete with the likes of Levers and Proctors, and you had to go to campuses, select MBAs. And if I had to lead the organization and work with very good talent, I should be able to speak their language. So I have been able to make that up by reading a lot of books, by going through a lot of short-term training programs. And I think that I think in a way, not studying MBA really helped me in terms of trying much, much harder, in terms of trying to make up learning to meet the overall expectations of the job. Being in Masjid Bandar also meant that you were not able to attract good talent. Many a times I would call people for interviews, and most of the time they would run away before entering the office because of the office location. So again, how do you overcome that? And I said that, can we change that focus? So for senior level interviews, I would call them to the Wellington Club, where I was a member, meet them once, twice, prepare them mentally that this is a matter of time, we'll shift the office. And I think I was able to crack that resistance to joining by adopting this approach. I think what I'm trying to say is you have to find out alternative ways of resolving issues if you get stuck in a certain way of doing things. And the same thing is attracting talent. At that time, we could not have afforded very good quality talent. Forget about affording, we would not have been able to get good quality talent. So in my initial days, I started working with individual consultants and work with, because we didn't have any system, we didn't have an appointment letter and basics of HR systems, basics of marketing. So I worked with a consultant in IIM Ahmedabad. Um, but he made it one thing very clear, that I don't have time to discuss with you during the day. If you have to learn from me, you'll have to come in the evening, spend the whole night, and go back in the morning. And multiple times I've gone to Ahmedabad, discussed the whole night, and come back in the morning. So there are ways to resolve some roadblocks in your journey by doing things differently. So Marico was formed in the year 1990. It was, by then, 4 of my cousins that joined business, so there were like 8 or 9 same surname members in the organization. Again, difficult to attract talent. There was lack of proper system for allocation of capital resources between different businesses, and I was getting very throttled in terms of how do I get out of this. I wanted much more freedom. I wanted to build a culture which was relevant for an FMCG business, a culture of innovation. And I could only do that if I spun off that business, the consumer product business, from Bombay Oil Industries to a new company, Marico. And it took almost 3 years for me to convince the elders. It was a management separation. It was not an ownership separation. So the stake which I had earlier in Bombay Oil Industries remained same. But through that process of consensus building within the family, I was given the charge of Marico, and I was the only family member. And I made it very clear, because I wanted to be the only family member in the business, that I will be the only family member. I will be accountable to the family in terms of whatever my performance. But that gave me a great opportunity to build a culture which was clearly relevant for FMCG companies. Culture of empowerment, because if I had to attract good talent, I had to empower them. Culture of innovation, which happened through recruiting diverse talent, which happened through having a very flat organization structure where people were empowered, encouraging risk-taking, not punishing failures. I think for innovation to thrive, you need to have a very open culture where people can talk to each other on a first-name basis. And it was made very clear to others that you can call each other on first-name basis. You don't need to go through the secretarial route to get an appointment. We also have an open house at all our locations. And I think when you reinforce a value of openness through different routes, then you create a culture of openness. And we also trained our leaders to practice an open style of management where you need to involve people. So if a leader joins us and starts having a leadership style which is different, then that will come out in terms of the feedback to that person. So the organization has enough things to put pressure on people to adhere to a certain culture, a positive pressure, I would say. And the same thing would be for trust. We said that we are a trusting organization, and you can only make people interact with each other if they are open and if they are trusting to each other. So we took some steps in early 90s in terms of doing away with musters in the organization, doing away with sick leave in the organization, because we trust you. If you're sick, you're sick. Self-authorization of expenditure, in terms of if you authorize expenditure on behalf of the company, you can self-authorize. You don't have to go to the boss. I think these kind of strong signals helped instill a very high degree of openness and trust. And I think it's very easy to finalize values. I wrote down the values, I discussed with my team, shared it down the line with multiple people down the line, but that is just the beginning. I think values crafting is just the beginning, but the difficult part is how do you convert those values into a strong culture and maintain that culture over a period of 20, 30 years. To me, I think most organizations, when I talk to them, yes, we have values, they are pasted at the reception. I didn't want people down the line saying that these are the values, but actually the reality is very, very different. So spend a lot of time in building the culture of the organization by reinforcing each and every value on a perpetual basis. When we formed Marico, it was perceived to be a family-managed organization, family-owned organization. So one of the values was meritocracy. So when you have a meritocratic organization, it was made very clear to people that influence will not work. It will not work whether it's coming from me or anybody else. So if I have a request from somebody to give a job to somebody or distributorship, My role ends at, okay, you evaluate that person. Ultimately, the decision is line person. I will not influence. So sending very strong message of meritocracy also has helped a very, very important journey in creating a culture of professionalism, culture of openness, culture of innovation. I think the role of top management is very important in driving innovation and building culture. So I think if some brand is making a presentation, normally they would expect me to raise a question, what is the innovation you plan? So there is a lot of top-down expectation in terms of innovation also. We also have innovation awards, internal awards, for which we get internal entries, and on average about 20 entries per year, and they get celebrated through our town hall events every year, and everybody understands why innovation is important. Most of the innovations are team innovations, so the whole team goes on. And how did that innovation happen? The process of identifying the innovation, whether it's consumer insighting or whatever way, is talked about to people. And I think when people go on hearing this innovation from different angles, you create an innovative culture. But the biggest challenge comes in, we created a culture, I'm talking of early 90s, when existing employees leave, new employees come in. So you need to ensure that the new people who are coming in, you make acquisition, they are also inducted into the values journey. So when a new person comes in, a one full day is spent on why values are important. And we do a survey amongst all our employees in terms of each and every value. What is our rating? So we have a location-wise, grade-wise analysis of the values, and that gets presented to our board of directors once a year. And if there is a problem in any location or in function, that gets highlighted. And again, HR steps in and takes steps to improve that culture in the organization. I'm talking a lot about culture because I strongly feel that culture is very important. Culture and strategy go hand in hand. Culture has to be something which will help you strategy. And I think if you have a good strategy but a weak culture, then you will not be able to deliver results as expected. Even a good culture will also help you attract and retain talent. Because if a person has worked with the organization, that person has had positive experience, you will create an image of a very good employer. And in this fast-changing scenario where there is a shortage of good talent, I think it will play a very, very important role. Let me just end by talking of two things. One is, I think talent is very important. Talent has to be as important to all of you as winning in the marketplace. If you don't have good talent, then you will not be able to win as effectively in the marketplace. So how do you attract good talent is very important. You need to identify what will attract talent for you. You have to identify, depending on the size, can you create an employee value proposition which is unique compared to your competition or compared to where other people are employing a similar talent from. In our case, it was empowerment as compared to MNCs where a lot of decisions take place at their headquarters. We were willing to empower our members at a much, much younger age, and that was our employee value proposition. That cut ice. But I think it's just not HR. People think that it's HR responsibility for talent. I think each person in the organization is a talent scout. There is a war for talent. Talent has to be treated like marketing, not like purchasing. You have to market yourself, and if you meet any individual, say in a forum like this, and if you find that the individual is good, then get that individual to come to you, talk to you, and every person has to look at, within the organization has to be a talent scout. So I think these are some of my thoughts. Let me just end by talking of a little bit on governance, because I think all of you are running businesses, and I find that many small organizations think that governance, I will address the issues of governance once I become much larger. I don't think that's right, because the moment you start taking shortcuts in your business, you are building a culture of taking shortcuts. So when you grow, people will be used to taking shortcuts, and that will hit you at some stage, because you've taken a shortcut, you got caught, it'll hit you by many, many years. So it's very important that I think governance plays a very important role, and many of you may be raising money from external investors, and I think they look at governance, and from what one has seen in the recent past of some other startups, early stage companies faltering on governance, I think it's very important to go overboard on governance. And the whole subject of governance has now got expanded to ESG, but At this stage in your journey, I would say governance would be more important than the environment and the society issues. Of course, as you grow bigger, it will be important. But I think let me just end by saying that governance is very, very important, and don't try and take shortcuts on governance. So these are some of my thoughts in my own journey over a period of time. If I look back at my own journey, I think it's evolved over a period of time from virtually from a zero base. Now this year we'll do about 10,000 crore turnover. From a low value addition in terms of branded commodities, we have now become a full-fledged FMCG company. From low margin, we come to high margin. From a family managed company, we become professionally managed company. And there is no family now today in the organization. The whole company is professional. I am the chairman. Rishabh is on board, but beyond that, full time we don't play any role in managing the company. We are aware of what's happening. It's like mind is on in terms of what's happening in the company, but hands are out. Nothing comes to me for decision on day-to-day basis. And finally, from a private company, we become public company. So it's been a very enjoyable journey, but I hope some of what I've said has resonated with you. So all the best and have a good day. Thank you.